Okay, just waiting for this to come up here. There we go. Okay, how's it going, everybody? See people watching right now. I'll mute this over here. I'm just checking to make sure everyone can hear me. Yes, everyone can hear. Perfect. So, interesting little morning. I woke up with a rash, a little small rash under, like on my flank. I got out of the shower. I was like, "What the hell is this?" And sent a video to Stephen Devos, and turns out I got shingles. Here I am loaded up on vitamins and minerals and all kinds of shit, and I somehow have shingles. So I'm a bit like achy and a bit out of it, but whatever. I'm gonna try to get through this anyway, because I usually don't like to back down on things that I said I was gonna do. So here I am. I'm gonna get through this YouTube chat here. There's 14 people watching, so I hope you guys are all doing really good. Dr. Strange, many drug users will place drugs rectally instead of orally to get more effective high. Objectively, could testosterone queen be applied inside a clean rectum to be more efficient than the testicles? Okay. My own physician, Dr. Barry Breger, when I met him, he was a big proponent of using the compounded cream, but what he was doing was applying it rectally. Figuring what better way to have it absorbed instead of just applying it to the skin and having it absorbed through the skin. So he was applying it rectally. And he was getting consistent blood values with that. He was getting good results with that. He had a lot of patients doing that as well. And then I started telling him about the transscrotal application where it's applied to the scrotum twice a day. And initially he said, well, rectally or at the scrotum, the scrotum skin is very, very, very thin. And yes, it does have very good absorption. So what's the benefit? And the benefit was that because the scrotal skin has a high prevalence of the 5-alpha reductase enzyme, it helps more testosterone convert into DHT. And DHT is 3 to 8 times more powerful than testosterone, depending on where you look. So a lot of those people says 3 to 6 times. I've seen up to 8 times, so 3 to 8 times more powerful than testosterone in regards to a lot of the properties that we think we're actually getting from testosterone often comes from DHT. Guys that do apply it to the scrotum are seeing benefits in cognition, in libido, a reduction in brain fog. They're seeing increases in erections. However, there are some guys that seem to be a little bit susceptible to DHT, where they might get some little prostate enlargement. Most of the time it's benign. They just call it benign prostate hyperplasia. Symptoms of that is when you're going to pee, you find your urine stream is slightly reduced. Outside of that, or they'll lose their hair. They'll find their hair is thinning faster. So what I always tell guys is if you're genetically prone to hair loss and you're upping your DHT, it's gonna likely accelerate that process further. Okay. It's funny enough, I just shaved my head today because I shave it. I barely leave the house anymore because of COVID and I work from home. But I was thinking now I should have not shaved it and showed everyone that I have hair because everyone's like, well, Danny's bald. No, I completely shaved my head down. I just like the way it looks. So is there a benefit to rectally if you find yourself susceptible to DHT related sides, anything where you're raising DHT and either you're losing hair quicker, you're getting prostate enlargement quicker, any other thing, you could always try doing it rectally. Nothing really wrong with that. You'll absorb the testosterone just as much. You just might not convert as much as DHT. Okay, but there are a lot of people that do that. There's a lot of medications that are applied rectally, so it's actually quite common. So I hope that answers your question, Dr. Strange. If there's something I didn't answer, then feel free to add something. DC Heavenly Bodies, D-Boss, thanks for coming on today. My question is, do you think there's a difference between 3 times a week administration versus every other day administration? Okay. The only ones that are really going to see a difference between 3 times a week and every other day are the guys that are hypersensitive to injection frequency, or let's say guys that have like single-digit SHBG. myself, if I, my SHBG sits between 18 and 20. If I go between every other day and 3 times a week, I really don't feel difference. But I have worked with some guys where the frequency of injection is just any small change and it makes the most massive difference ever. Sometimes I wonder if it's just in their head, but I have guys that I've spoken to that on daily shots, no issues at all. And as soon as they go, let's say every other day, so it's essentially you're doubling your dose of the daily, but then the next day you're not taking anything. Sometimes just that doubling of dose has such a strong impact on the central nervous system. They feel wired, they feel agitated, they feel like they've got some anxiety, their sleep gets disrupted or whatever else. So any issues like that, if you just increase and go to daily and get resolved, you got your answer. So do you think there's a difference? It's going to depend on the person. For most people, going from 3 times a week to every other day, I would say no. I find personally that the every other day will probably provide a little more consistency instead of going like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then nothing for 2 days, and Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But like if it's literally every second day, it's maybe even a little easier to remember. I guess it really depends on the person, but I'm not just going to tell some random guy, oh, you're doing 3 times a week. You should absolutely do every other day shots. No, if he's fine on every other day, he's fine. If he lowers his frequency and he does twice a week and feels just as fine, he should be doing twice a week. Okay, so what I always keep reiterating to guys is you want to inject the least amount of times possible per week where you feel fine. So if you're injecting once a week and you feel fine, don't increase the frequency. You feel fine. You're doing twice a week. Well, don't say. Sometimes I get guys that are doing daily. They're doing twice weekly shots, and they'll email me. Should I go daily? How do you feel? I feel fantastic. So why do you want to go daily? Well, I heard daily you get more consistent, but you just said you feel fantastic. If you feel fantastic, why do you want to change anything? You change something if you feel like something's off or something needs to be improved. Then I might look at your SHBG levels, and let's say your SHBG is 15. It's pretty low. Twice a week, yeah, you might benefit from doing a little bit more, and you could do that. But this thing about going daily or once a week, it really depends. I'm finding guys with single-digit SHBG, the vast majority of them are going to be doing daily, every other day, 3 times a week. And even then, there's some exceptions. If I recall, even Greg Doucette has single-digit SHBG and reports feeling fine with doing shots every 5 days. So if he's feeling fine doing shots every 5 days and feels exactly the same throughout the week, why the hell are you going to increase your frequency? What would be the point? The guy feels fine. Okay, so you increase the frequency until you feel flat. That every single day, I'm pretty much the same. If my erections are, let's say, off, they're off every single day, that's consistent. Your sleep is the same, your stress levels are whatever the hell your issue is, and if it's just the same and it's not improving or one day and then getting worse the other day, your frequency is going to most likely be fine. Now, if you're having issues with that and you've been troubleshooting and trying everything, usually what I'll tell someone is go to the extreme temporarily. Go to daily shots to eliminate the variable of frequency, right? Because now I'm just going to give myself a tiny little bit every single day. Very likely that that's not going to cause insomnia or panic, whatever. I'm just giving myself a little bit. Okay, it's not going to interfere with my sleep. My levels are going to be as flat as can be. Okay, start with that, and then spend your time determining what your ideal weekly dose is. Should I go higher? If I go higher, do I feel better? Great. What if I go a little bit higher? Let me come back here. Okay, this is my dose. Perfect. So now you've determined your dose is 150 milligrams a week. Perfect. Now you can say, okay, now let me start backing off on frequency slowly. Let me go to every other day shots. Let me stick with that for about 6 weeks. How do I feel? I feel good. Okay, let me try 3 times a week. Let me try, but gradually, and figure out what is the minimum amount required to inject per week where I just feel flat and I feel stable. Now that I've already determined what my ideal weekly dose is, because I ruled out the variable of the daily, of doing daily shots, I ruled out the variable of frequency, right? So it's just using a little, it sounds simple. It's just using a little bit of common sense and logical thinking, critical thinking, a little bit of strategy to say, I got 2 variables to think of. How much to take a week, how often to take a week, how often to take it a week. So let me go to the extreme, how often to take it a week, so I can eliminate that variable. I just gave you guys the finger. Okay, I'm going to eliminate this variable. as how often to take a week. And now all I have to figure out is my weekly dose. Once I figured out my weekly dose, then I could slowly start playing with my frequency again, because now I've already determined what that is. And that's really all there is to it. Okay. I hope that answers your question. Does NAC elevate? Is the question. Aiden Billings, does NAC elevate? Does NAC elevate what? Does it elevate the stock market? Does it elevate the soul? Aiden Billings, you're gonna have to give me a little more. I'd love to answer your question. You're gonna have to give me a little more info on that one. Nick Bradbury, good morning, Danny. Good morning to you, sir. Tony B. Jr., hey, Danny, nice to see you, buddy. Tony, nice to see you too. Jedi Red Eye, you, okay? You back. Donald, I got shingles several weeks after getting the Pfizer shot. I've been hearing that a lot. I haven't gotten any shots. So my low immune system is likely due to the stress I am experiencing not being able to go anywhere, literally in Quebec. I can go to a grocery store and that's about it. I can't even go to a car dealership. In December, I ordered an M3 competition X-Drive in December. Luckily, I went in December because if I wanted to go today to go order it, I wouldn't be able to go to the car dealership. So if this nonsense is still on by May, they're going to have to bring the papers outside to have me sign, because apparently I am a threat to the health system, which is kind of ridiculous. Out in Bali, know anything about DIM? Yes, I do. Am I a DIM expert? No, but I know enough that I can give you some feedback. And I have actually tried it myself. One thing that DIM does is it helps the liver and the body in general to metabolize hormones better, okay? Now, there's DIM, there's the IC3 or I3C, I always get them confused, which is, it's basically the metabolated DIM, or the potent form of DIM. And you also have calcium deglucarate, which is something else. They act through different mechanisms. Guys that are obsessed about estrogen or phytoestrogens or environmental estrogens, or they're having what they're calling estrogenic side effects, sometimes will take DIM or calcium deglucarate and report that these symptoms improve. Now, what these compounds actually do is they don't work as aromatase inhibitors, okay? They're not blocking the conversion of testosterone into estradiol, and they aren't, how can I say this? The only thing that taking an AI is going to do is blocking or reducing the amount of testosterone that's converting into estradiol. Okay, you guys know this already. But when you're exposed to environmental estrogens or phytoestrogens or xenoestrogens, the stuff in the water, the stuff in your food, the stuff in your cosmetics, taking an AI is pointless, okay? Because an aromatase helps convert one thing into another. If the thing that you're being exposed to is already estrogen, well, there's no conversion taking place. So taking an AI to say, I want to stop the conversion of, estrogenic environmental estrogens, well, it's already an estrogen. There is no conversion to be done. Okay, so you're kind of wasting your time with that. So I have seen a lot of websites that talk about using an AI or using stuff like aromacin or exemestane or whatever, because we're so bombarded with these poisons in our environment. And I agree, we're being bombarded with these poisons in our environment. The problem is that these compounds prevent or lower the conversion of testosterone into estradiol. And estradiol is a really good estrogen you want to have. The rest of that stuff is stuff that you don't want to have, okay? What we're seeing is guys that are taking calcium deglucarate and DIM, if they report feeling better, usually, and I would say it's virtually in every single case, they need to start addressing some underlying condition they have, because clearly their bodies are not processing or metabolizing these estrogens very, very well. Not only, by the way, do these compounds help rid the body of estrogens, there's also talk that could be ridding the body of excess androgens, okay? So if you've got your TRT dose fairly up there and you're taking DIM and calcium deglucarate, there is a possibility that you're actually making the body rid itself of some of this excess hormone. We don't really have anything solid that I've seen that demonstrates this for sure, but it's thought that it could occur. And because of this, I don't really I don't really recommend it. So if you're using calcium D-glucarate, you're using DIM, and you're getting benefits, the first thing you're going to want to look at is liver function. Okay, if your liver function is excellent, you won't need this stuff. Okay, so you can look at AST, you can look at ALT, look at signs of fatty liver. Fatty liver is extremely, extremely common. One of the best old school bodybuilder protocols, and I brought this up on numerous videos, they would use 1,500 milligrams of inositol, 1,500 milligrams of choline daily, and they would take this for 30 days. And that stuff would just squeeze the fat out of a fatty liver. It's dirt cheap. It's available at any pharmacy. It's stuff that's been used for decades. Extremely high safety profile. Don't just take my word for it. Go Google it. By the way, guys, now that I just brought up a dose, but I mean, you can look this up anywhere online, and it's, I'm not the one that invented this. Needed to be said, I'm not a physician. I have no formal medical training. I just spend a lot of time talking to doctors. I'm the admin of the Facebook group with the same name. I've been doing TRT for 7 years. I've been reading research and studies for the last almost 10 years. I've been very active in the community. I've worked with a lot of guys, even just doing consults. I've actually helped doctors with their patients, which apparently I'm not allowed to do, but I do from time to time. So anything I tell you, please take it with a grain of salt. Speak to your own doctor. Go do your own research. Okay, anything I'm telling you here is not a prescription for you to do something. All right. So AST, ALT. If you're finding issues with your liver, NAC, which somebody brought up earlier, is really, really good for improving liver health. The inositol choline is really good for fatty liver. TUDCA, TUDCA, is becoming more and more popular to help improve liver function. Milk thistles have always been another one that's been around forever. So focus on your liver. You wouldn't believe how many guys I've personally worked with that were looking at their estradiol levels, and they're seeing, I got a 1,300 nanogram per deciliter testosterone, and my estradiol is at 60. Oh, it's high. It's above the range. Well, first of all, your testosterone is above the range, so it's normal that your estradiol is going to be above the range, because that's your body is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Okay. Now, if you're saying, oh, it's my 60 estradiol, and that's why I have all these issues, and then we go look at your liver function is a mess, you have to keep in mind that there are a lot of different estrogens. Okay, everybody points to E2 or estradiol as being the cause of everything. Never look at liver function. Never think of what kind of body wash am I using? What kind of this am I using? What am I being exposed to? Am I filtering my water? Am I using plastic bottles constantly to put they don't look into anything. It's E2, E2. Everything is E2, E2. World hunger, it's E2. Coronavirus, it's E2. This guy, so this guy died. It must have been his E2. Everybody has an argument. It's E2. It's mind blowing. You guys can't be this simple minded. Okay, the body is very, very, very complex. There are xenoestrogens. There are phytoestrogens. Then the estrogens made in the body. You got estradiol. You got estrone. You've got estriol. Estradiol is the one that is the most potent of the three. But when our bodies are getting wrecked and we're getting gynecomastia and we're getting low libido and this and this and that, it's usually not the fault of estradiol. A lot of people are being so bombarded with these xenoestrogens and phytoestrogens. I'm going to give you a perfect example. Okay, so I went through a period of time where I was really, really stressed out because I got shingles. I wasn't sleeping, and I didn't want to take sleeping pills because I'm not really into taking drugs and pharmaceutical drugs. That's not really my thing. And the next morning, I always felt groggy. So someone said, why don't you try cannabis? So I started getting some CBD capsules, and that wasn't really doing much. And then I tried some CBD with a little bit of THC, and that wasn't doing much. And when you're taking these capsules, it takes some time for it to kick in, so sometimes I would take it at 8 o'clock. I want to go to bed at 10. Anyway, I had to time this stuff. And what if I wanted to stay up? So at one point I said, the hell with it. I'm stuck in the house 24/7. I can't do anything. So I got myself, by the way, we're in Canada. I'm in Canada, and cannabis is legal. There is an association called the SAQ, where you can buy all your hard liquor, wine, whatever. And they have another association called the SQDC. They have stores in Canada where you can go and buy weed. You can order online, whatever else.
So I said, let me try this out because everyone's telling me to buy it to try weed. And I started having a couple little puffs before bed. And all I was doing is choosing the ones that were extremely high in CBD and then had a moderate amount or low amount of THC. So it was always kind of like a 2-to-1 ratio. So the first time I had it, I didn't feel well at all. And I was getting all panicky and it took me some time to get used to it. But after a while, that the fear of the feeling was kind of going away because I started realizing, okay, nothing bad's going to happen. Started calming down, and my sleep was like really good. So I would take a couple of puffs before bed, and I'd go to sleep, and I'd sleep the night, wake up feeling fine. Hey, this is fantastic. So I was getting to the point of just having a little bit every night, and not long after, you guys saw the video I did about how I fixed my gyno, right? So I had gynecomastia prior to TRT, just due to a complete absence of androgens. And that's what I got. And after I got on TRT and figured out my protocol and got off the AI and got my levels flat and got my levels up, like it just, like the fat just went off my chest, that lump shrunk. And now it's like, you know, I could still feel it, the little lump. It's there, but it's nowhere near like it was before TRT. Anyways, as time is passing while I'm smoking this stuff, my chest started getting fatter and the fat around my midsection, I started accumulating there and the lump started growing. Okay. Now this is not estradiol doing that. Cannabis does not create estradiol. It's a xenoestrogen. Okay. So you don't want xenoestrogens in your body. Estradiol, no problem. The environmental and xenos and phytos, you don't want those in your body. You want to really clean up your environment, filter your water. Don't use shitty low-grade plastic bottles, okay? Check the ingredients of all of the cosmetics, body washes, shampoo, beard oil, whatever bullshit you put on your bodies. Keep in mind that your body is like a sponge, okay? So you say, yeah, it's got a little preservatives. You put that on your skin, it's gonna go right through the skin, okay? And if you're putting it on every day, you're gonna have a buildup of this crap in the body. And then you're going to say, oh, it's my TRT protocol and it's my E2. I need to take an AI. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, guys, use your heads and ask more questions. Look into other stuff. If all you're going to do is say, it must be the E2, therefore I need to take the AI, why not find out what the actual cause is? Okay, so liver function is really, 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 really important to this. Well, there's a lot of questions coming in. Here we go. Stephen. Hi. Okay, Diego Landavery. Thanks for all the information you guys provide. You're welcome, Diego. Trying our best here. The Kitty Bear, grapefruits to lower hematocrit, fact or fiction? I don't have the answer to that. I honestly don't. You wouldn't believe how many guys I've sent to go run labs and then they come back and their hematocrit hemoglobin is a little bit elevated, and ask them, were you like sufficiently hydrated beforehand? And they're like, no, I thought I was supposed to be fasted. And I'm like, no, fasted means you don't eat before your blood test, but you can drink all the water you can. Drinking water is just fine. So then they drink water the night before, they drink water the morning of, they drink water on their way over there. And when they go, their hemoglobin and hematocrit are fine. Okay. Number one. Also, there's a study I've posted many, many times in the Facebook group that hematocrit and hemoglobin elevated aren't really the concern that we thought it was when you're on testosterone replacement therapy specifically. Okay, so anybody is getting on testosterone, you will see some elevation in hematocrit and hemoglobin. This doesn't necessarily mean you're going to stroke out. Okay, if you look at guys that, people in general that live at altitude, they have constantly high hematocrit and hemoglobin. They're not all lined up at the blood banks to donate blood. They're not all dropping dead of strokes and heart attacks. Okay, it's not the big concern that we once thought. In particular, in the absence of any other underlying conditions. Okay, so if you've got a little bit of hematocrit and hemoglobin that's elevated due to being on TRT and no other underlying condition at all, you're fine. Now, if you have elevated hematocrit hemoglobin and now your cholesterol profile is a disaster and your liver profile is a disaster, and you're overweight and you've got blood pressure issues and maybe you've got, borderline, you're pre-diabetic. Well, now you're starting to add a lot of underlying conditions, and each of these unto itself might not be that big of a deal and it's treatable, but when you combine all of them, now it starts to become a problem. So now you're really going to start looking at the hematocrit hemoglobin. You're going to have to start bringing all these things back down. Okay. Now, does grapefruit do it? I would say have to Google it. I'll only answer what I know or what I've researched or what I can confirm. If I tell you something that I'm really not sure of, I'll say I've heard this, but I can't confirm it. Go look it up. But the grapefruit, I don't know. Simon the amputee. Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning to you, Simon. Robert Simpson, did you get the shingles vaccine? I did not. I got a couple of vaccines when I was a kid for the standard stuff that they were giving kids at the time. I've not had any vaccines since then. I haven't been spent a day in the hospital in my entire life. I'm almost never sick. I think, frankly, it's just the state of the environment right now, where I'm not vaccinated, and in Canada, if you're not vaccinated, it's bad. You can't. They're saying that they're not forcing it on anybody, and they're not. It's like, oh, it's up to you to do it. We're just going to take away every single human right that you have until you fall to your knees and beg to get the vaccine. And I'm not really big on bullies. Had they asked nicely or brought it up to say it was an option, I may have looked into it and I may have taken it. But when somebody tells me what I have to do or forces me to do something, it's an immediate no. For me, it's just immediate. As soon as you tell me you're going to have to do this or else, it's an immediate no. So it's just kind of the way I'm wired. So now we can't get HCG with our TRT in Canada. What should we do? I haven't been following too closely what's going on with HCG. Yes, I realize that it's been reclassified as a biologic. Yes, I've been told that quantities are becoming harder and harder to come by, in particular in the US. But then we got clinics like Elevatement's clinic that Gil owns, and they've been having no issues whatsoever getting HCG. I've been hearing about some people being switched over to Gondorelin. Now in Canada, if it's been completely eliminated, I don't know what to tell you guys. You can go buy cigarettes and alcohol and weed and soft drinks and Big Macs and all this stuff that are going to kill you, no problem. But I want to take HCG because I'm on TRT because I have a androgen deficiency, but I also want to get my wife pregnant, so I need HCG to maintain fertility. Oh no, you're not allowed. You're not allowed. I don't know what you guys are going to do with that one. I just don't. I've seen a lot of sites that sell them. Are all of them legit? I don't know. If my hand was forced and I absolutely needed HCG, and Health Canada says, well, we're not going to do it anymore, and I knew that was the only thing I could use, like, sorry to say, I'd rather go the legit route. But if you're going to force my hand, I mean, if I can find someone that's got some, I might go that way. So, I don't get why they want to remove things from the market that benefit people's health, especially in regards to fertility. So then it gets to the point like, okay, so I've got low testosterone. So either I can have low testosterone and have no libido and have piss poor erections, but I might have just enough sperm to get my wife pregnant, but I'll be miserable. Or I can get on TRT, feel better, put on some muscle mass and lose some fat and lower my risk of all kinds of stuff and have my better libido and better erections. But now my sperm count's going to drop. And I know there's something out there to improve the sperm count. And they're going to say, no, you can't have it. Yeah. Welcome to Canada. Trying to get out of here. Actually, I'm working on getting the hell out of Canada for this reasons and lots of other reasons. Okay, Aldo Marziotta, Italian. Reason why you're feeling testosterone is less effective, or you don't feel the same effects as the dosage that used to work before. Okay, so I don't know if you mean that you started off testosterone replacement therapy and for like a month or two you felt pretty good, and then it's like, eh. Now, if that's the case, keep in mind that when you first start testosterone replacement therapy, you're adding testosterone over and above your natural production, okay? So even if your natural production is like here, it's like total shit, and you're still adding whatever amount you're injecting or taking by a cream over and above, okay? So your levels are going to be higher. Now, once your natural levels get suppressed, right, so they come down, you have to understand that your total level is now also going to come down. So a lot of guys call this the honeymoon phase, where at the beginning, first month or two, they feel good. And then it's like, oh, I'm kind of dragging. I was feeling okay, but now that's usually a sign to raise your dose. Now, if you've been on TRT for a while, you may find yourself sometimes needing a little bit more, sometimes having a little bit less, depending on factors like how much you've been sleeping, what has your stress levels been like, what has your activity level been like, are you lifting heavy in the gym? Maybe you're not lifting heavy in the gym. The demands may increase or go down. Okay, so when you're with a doctor's prescription, obviously, you're stuck having to use a doctor. But if you have a doctor who's really open to this stuff, to say, hey, I'm just not feeling quite as on my 150 milligrams a week, quite the same as I was before. Can we just try upping it to 175 and feel a bit better? And if you do, tell your doctor, hey, I feel a bit better. There may be a time that comes in a couple months later where you're at 175 and like, hey, I'm feeling a little wound up and my sleep is kind of off and it's almost like I'm taking too much. Let me bring it back down to 150. Oh, I feel better. Okay, so keep in mind that the demand for this can change over time. It might change a little bit. It might change a lot. It might not change for you. It might change for the next guy. It is possible, is all I'm trying to say. Ken Pe, or P, I'll assume it's Pe. Hi, did you hear about post-finasteride syndrome? Do you know how to fix it? I've seen some get better from HCG and or pyruvate. Okay. Post-finasteride syndrome. If any of you guys don't know what it is, please Google it. This is a syndrome that occurs when using a medication called finasteride that its sole purpose is to lower the amount of DHT in the body. Some people are prescribed it if they have an enlarged prostate. They can take finasteride, and if they see prostate enlargement go down, it's often because the prostate was being aggravated, maybe too much DHT, or the person was hypersensitive to DHT. And another one is hair loss. Okay, so those are typically the two most popular reasons why people take something like finasteride. The problem is, what a lot of people don't know is DHT has a really critical role in the body. And if you lower that by some degree, you might not feel issues right away. You might feel issues later on. You might not ever feel issues. But some guys, when they have this hormone lowered, it can really, really mess them up psychologically. Okay, DHT does have quite a big impact in the brain. So, sorry, I got an itch that's driving me nuts. And then when they finally do get off, it's almost like the body now is like in this weird state where it's having a hard time getting everything back into some sort of homeostasis. And they wind up with a lot of neurological issues. I am not an expert by any stretch of the imagination how to fix post-finasteride syndrome. I have seen so many guys on it, helpless. They've tried a number of different things. I have heard HCG as one of the things they've tried, but it's not really my area at all. So I'm not really the best person to ask. What I can say is, if you are having anything, if it's hair loss, ask yourself, do I really need to take something to save my hair? I was starting to thin out back, like the little patch over here. So I was just cutting my hair just shorter and shorter and shorter. I have hair everywhere else. And I even this morning before I shaved it, it had gotten pretty long because I don't leave the house. So I took the mirror and like, yeah, I got that little patch there and it just looks annoying. And I looked at my wife, should I grow it? She said, the hell, let's shave it. Should I shave it off again? You might shave your head and say, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. The hell with finasteride. I would much rather maintain my health than try to take some pharmaceutical drugs that might mess me up just to keep hair. In regards to the prostate, there are other methods without necessarily having to take finasteride to improve BPH. So try to look into as many methods as you can and avoid using anything that's blocking DHT. If you're getting these issues and you're on the transscrotal cream, keep in mind, again, like I said earlier, high prevalence of 5-alpha reductase in the scrotum. So if you're getting DHT issues, maybe switch back over to injections and see if that helps, okay? That's pretty much the extent of what I can tell you about post-finasteride syndrome. Ryan Albert, hey, I'm currently on TRT just over a year now. Recently, I've been feeling dizzy with lots of brain fog. I do daily injections. Any ideas as to why I feel this way or if it's related?
Okay, so you've been on TRT for over a year. My first instinct would be to say, if there was something wrong with your protocol, you would likely have had some kind of issues happen quite some time ago. Okay. I've never, or not never, it's not really common to see somebody who's on a protocol that's not ideal for them, where issues only seem to crop up a year and a half later. How did you get by a year and a half, not feeling just fine, and now suddenly these issues kick in? You're doing daily shots, so you can rule out frequency there. Maybe take a look. Have you made any change in regards to vitamins, minerals, supplements, anything of the sort lately? If you have, ask yourself, well, which supplements or vitamins was I taking back when I was feeling good? And go back to taking just those, eliminate the ones that you've started taking, and see if the issue gets resolved. If it does, you got your answer, okay? I have seen some guys experience this where supplementing with pregnenolone has helped. And pregnenolone, I'm really seeing as being extremely hit or miss. I'll give you an example. If I take one capsule of pregnenolone, my libido is gone within 3 days, and it won't come back for 2 weeks. Like, I get destroyed on pregnenolone. There's doctors out there that put all their patients on high dose pregnenolone by default, who I would love to strangle. I think it's nuts, because then they all wind up on our Facebook group and say, I just on this thing, and how come I got no libido when I'm on 100 milligrams of pregnenolone a day? So don't do that. Some guys have taken it small amounts, and they found a really, really big benefit in brain fog, or at least resolving brain fog. So that's something you can try. DHEA has been another one that some people take just 25 milligrams a day, and they're like, oh, I feel more clear, a little bit of brain fog. But I would be surprised if it was your TRT protocol. Could it be? Yes, it could be. The likelihood, I would say, is low. It's probably going to be something else that you've added lately. So you can look into those things. Donald, I tried transscrotal cream, got prostatitis, had to switch back to daily injection. Yeah. So there are some guys, like I said, are very susceptible to the impact of DHT on the prostate, and they get on the transscrotal cream, prostate enlarged, they have a hard time peeing, and they're like, okay, this is not for me, and you get off. That's all you can really do. Brandon Howell, would you personally recommend taking raloxifene on TRT to try and get some pretty existing gyna down? Okay, it just so happens that back in the day when I had got on TRT and I had that pre-existing gyno, but I was only doing like twice weekly shots at the time, and I had tried taking an AI, and then I realized it was no good, and I got off the AI. But that gyno stuck around for a little while. And if you look at my early videos, you can actually see it. Like, I looked like I had a puffy chest. I really did. There's some I don't know why I bothered, but I was wearing like these tight t-shirts, and you could see that my chest was puffy. And I did try using raloxifene, and for me, it didn't really do much. When I tried tamoxifen, also known as Nolvadex, I would notice a reduction in the swelling and the pain, but then as soon as I would stop, it would just come right back. Okay, so the thing that was causing the gyno to begin with needed to be resolved. And in my case, by bringing my levels higher and getting my levels more stable and consistent, that resolved it. So it's like, if I back up now, I have a physical green screen behind me, but if I back up now, like, my shirt's really, I don't have, there's no more swelling, there's no more bump, there's no more, none of that stuff, as you can see. Before it was like really popping out quite a bit. So yeah, I could have maybe ironed this shirt before this podcast. I didn't think I was gonna get up. But I mean, you can try it out and see if it helps. And if it helps, by all means, you can do it. What I would recommend, however, is when if you potentially get the impact or the outcome that you want, don't just stop cold turkey. Wean yourself off it very, very slowly over a long period of time. Okay, that's the best advice I can give you.
Yes, okay. Finasteride, TRT, daily injections, transscrotal, remoxafen. Okay, DC heavenly bodies. Yeah, my SHBG is around 24, so I'm guessing my frequency should be around 3 times a week. Correct. I would say yes, but again, there's always exceptions. On an SHBG at 24, 3 times a week, I find is pretty good. You may get by with twice, and 3 times a week might not be enough. But that I would say that would be a good starting point based on your SHBG. Okay. Nothing I say is written in stone when it comes to frequency, because I can see a guy single digit SHBG and he says, I'm taking a shot once a week and I feel fantastic. Then do that, right? The whole point is to feel fantastic. Neil Adams, if I took TRT and took finasteride, would I keep my hair okay? Yes, the whole point of the finasteride is to block some of that conversion into DHT. It will help to minimize the amount of hair loss you have. But again, look at your parents, in particular on your mother's side, their family. You know, if everyone there is bald, you got to say to yourself, I'm going to be bald. I might not be bald today, but I'm going to be bald soon. So do I really want to take a drug that completely mess up my brain to try to prevent something that is already inevitable? I think that would be really stupid. Now, if most people in your family don't have hair loss and you're taking TRT and you're like, hey, I'm starting to lose a bit and my hair is really important. I'm a model and I need it for my job, or I got a weird shaped head, and like, Danny, you look pretty good shaved head because you got the head for it, but my head's all freaking ass backwards, and if I shave my head, I'm going to look like the Elephant Man. Yeah, go ahead and take finasteride, but keep in mind there's a lot of guys that mess themselves up on it. And what's funny is if I go in these internet forums like Reddit and bring this up, you should see some of the flack I get from guys that have been on finasteride for a while, report or claim to feel absolutely fine. And they're like, no, it's perfectly safe. And I've been on it forever and I've never had any issues, blah, blah, blah. Okay, if it works for you, go ahead. But that doesn't apply to anybody. Blocking a hormone, I don't give a shit which hormone it is. Blocking a hormone that the body makes naturally on purpose is never a good idea. Okay. Robert Simpson, will being on TRT show upon a drug test? So obviously, if you're on TRT and you're bringing your levels up to like 15, 16, 1700, 1800 NGTL, they're going to say, what the hell is this? Either you're a freak of nature phenom or you're taking testosterone. Now, if you've got regular levels, let's say you got a total T of 800, now apparently there is a way for them to detect if you're using exogenous testosterone, because as much as testosterone is a bioidentical hormone, once the ester attaches to that molecule, there are some very, 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 very small changes made to the molecule. Okay. Once the ester gets cleaved, you're still left with bioidentical testosterone, but the carbon atoms at certain parts are going to be, I'll have a different weight. So apparently there's a way that they can test for the existence of androgens with this carbon atom or something along these lines. There's a big controversy as to whether or not injected testosterone that has this modification of carbon atoms has a different impact on the body compared to, let's say, a untouched bioidentical molecule, such as, let's say, the testosterone that's put in the compounded cream. Okay, so testosterone that's in a cream is not attached to an ester. Okay, it's in the cream. The cream is a delivery system. You wind up with exact, pure, untouched testosterone. It's one of the reasons why guys like Neil Rousier and whatever push the cream, because this is as bioidentical as can be. When you're using injections, there is a very, very, very slight modification, but we're talking carbon atom weight, and I haven't seen anything conclusive as to what difference that molecule would have on the receptor compared to a bioidentical testosterone molecule. Okay, what difference in the signaling or the messaging to those receptors would there be between these two? I have not seen anything conclusive enough for me to say it's a good thing, it's a bad thing, there's a difference, there's no difference. I just haven't seen it. If anyone does have anything like that, please post on this video. I would love to see it. I have been looking for it from time to time. Ken PE says finasteride is poison, stay away from it. Ideally, yes. Johnny Bravo,
How can you keep the honeymoon phase always instead of only 1 month, feeling lazy after a while? Okay, so you've measured your levels and your levels are here. Now you're adding testosterone over and above and like, oh, I feel good. I feel good. Now, as soon as it starts to drop after about a month and a half, you have to say to yourself, okay, my natural levels are dropping. I need to increase my dose to get back to wherever the hell I was. Okay. So if you've done your labs at, you know, some doctors make you do labs at 4 weeks. So let's say at the 4-week mark, you're like, oh my God, I feel fantastic. Let's say for 6 weeks, you're at 6 weeks, I feel fantastic. Get your labs done. It's okay. My total is here. My free T is here. My SHBG is here. Now, when that starts to drop, you'll know, okay, I need to get my level back to where it was, right? So you'll have to kind of figure out, well, how much more of a dose do I have to get my levels back up here? But that's essentially what you need to be doing. Okay, so I have seen a lot of guys that start off. The worst ones I would say are clinics that start off guys at like 70 milligrams, 80 milligrams, 90 milligrams. It's borderline chemical castration for most men. Okay, so they've got piss poor natural levels, and now they add a little bit on top. I'm like, oh yeah, I feel a bit better. But as soon as that natural production gets suppressed, they're back down to here, and they're back like feeling like dog shit again. Okay, I prefer a starting dose of 150 milligrams a week, starting twice weekly injections as my default. Anybody starting TRT, they ask you, Danny, what should I start with? 150 milligrams a week, doing twice weekly shots. Either it's going to be the perfect amount for you, or it's going to be too high for you, or it's going to be too low for you. Okay. Not me, not anybody on the planet can tell you what your ideal dose is. It's impossible. Okay. If a doctor says, I know exactly what you need to take, he's full of shit. If you take such and such, you're going to feel like this, he's full of shit. If I get your levels up to this amount, you're going to feel like this, he's full of shit. All I need to do is give you this dose and you're going to feel amazing, he's full of shit. Okay. Use your heads. It doesn't work that way. I can give 100 people 150 milligrams a week, and they're all going to have different serum levels. They're all going to have different reporting of outcomes. Some are going to feel fantastic. Some are going to feel so okay. Some are going to feel like they're panicky and anxious. When you start, this is call it an experiment. You're taking an educated guess. You say, okay, I have to start somewhere. Okay, 200 milligrams a week is sometimes really high for some guys. 100 milligrams a week is typically not enough for a lot of guys. So let's start in the middle. We'll start at 150. And if it's too much, we're going to quickly lower it. You know, if I say I'm on 150 and the guy's like, man, a week later, I can't sleep and I'm up all night and I'm a nervous wreck. Okay, it's a sign it's too much. Let's bring it down. If after 2 months, like, yeah, it's like libido is kind of suffering. Okay, it's probably a sign that not enough. Let's bring it up. Okay, you got to start somewhere. But anyone who talks about a dose or a frequency or 200 milligrams is not TRT, it's a cycle. If you're at this level, it's a total T, you're on a. It gets so old. The bro science and the ignorance in this community is so freaking old. It's unreal. Like I said, you got to start somewhere. I would say start 150 milligrams a week, twice weekly injections, and then you adjust from there. Okay. So when you're starting off, if you feel good and now you get the honeymoon phase, you're like, oh, I was feeling good. I'm starting to kind of go off. Bring that dose back up. Bring it back up to like, okay, I'm starting to feel good again. Okay, so this is your dose, right? It's really that simple. You could do this without labs. Okay. Doctors out there are gonna, oh, Danny Bossa is talking about. You can do this without labs. If I bring my dose from 150 to 175, do I feel better? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. What am I going to care about a lab? Oh, my number. Who cares? Do I feel better at 175? Yes or no? Yes. Do I feel better at 200 compared to 175? No, because when I get to 200, I get anxious and I have insomnia. Okay. Do I need a lab to tell me that? No. If I bring it back down to 175, do I feel good? Yeah. So 175 is your dose. The lab is irrelevant. The lab, we don't care about at that point. 175 is where you feel your best. You've tried higher, you've tried lower, and 175 is the minimum amount you took to resolve symptoms. That's your dose. The number that winds up on the paper after, don't care. Okay, don't care. Hey, Danny, what part of your body are you most comfortable injecting? I've been doing buttocks for a year. Tony B. Jr., guys on TRT, the alpha guys, we call them glutes. The glutes. The buttocks is, whatever. Tried to make a joke there. I've been doing buttocks for a year now and wondering if I should switch it to another quads or shoulders. Okay. I do not like quads. I spent a lot of time earlier on experimenting with many, many different injection methods, because there was a point in time that I would look at a needle and I would faint. Okay. So I started doing subcutaneous. Actually, that's not really true. At first, my wife, who was studying nursing at the time, when we first decided like the androgel was useless, and the cream I was being told to rub on my shoulders was useless, and we moved to injections. I had to strip down naked, lie down on the couch in the fetal position, and she would inject it in the ventral gluteal muscle while I screamed like a pig going to slaughter, literally. And eventually she got fed up, and then I started doing subcutaneous shots. The first time I had to do a subcutaneous shot, I tried to do it myself, and I lied down on my back on my bed with my prepared syringe, and I had my syringe about 1.5 inches away from my skin, and I spent 2.5 hours arguing with my hand to tell it to push the needle through the skin. I couldn't, and I finally did. There are delts, glutes, ventral gluteal, hip shots. I don't like quads. The reason I don't like quads is there's a lot of nerves in the quads, okay? And if you may have been doing quad shots for a long time, but at one point you hit one of those nerves and you'll never do it again, okay? Injecting into delts, it takes practice, okay? When you're taking a thing, and especially if you're the type that's injecting like a lot all at once, so your plunger is really, really high, and you kind of got to go like this, and you get it, and it's really, it can be tricky, okay? It takes a little bit of practice. One trick a buddy of mine told me about, was it Abe Traverso? It might be Abe Traverso, was to take, go on a flat surface like a counter, okay? Let me just back this up and I'll knock over this green screen. So what they would do is put your arm on a flat surface, okay? So you rest the arm on the on a counter, and now this has been stabilized. So now you can just take your thing, put it in, and just shh. And I find that having it on the counter like that helped a lot to get me started when I was doing delts, okay? What I really, really like about delts, no nerves. It's a nice meaty area. There's no major blood vessels, okay? It's a pretty safe place to inject. Now there are some guys that even inject in the chest. They'll do biceps, they'll do triceps. I've never done that. I can't see myself sticking something on my bicep. I think it would, I think that would absolutely pass out. But delts, glutes, again, you got to use a longer needle. So if you have an aversion to long needles, then I wouldn't say use glutes. When I'm doing delts, I'm using typically 5/8, 1/2 inch, 25s, 27s. I never really go less than 25s. There was a guy that bitched me out on a video I did a while back, and he's like, I can't believe this guy's using 1 ml syringes and 25 gauge needles. You see, you should be using 3 ml syringes. 3 ml syringes are going to be good for guys that are injecting 1 ml all at once, okay? But if you're doing small daily shots or every other day shots, no, you don't need a 3 ml thing. How the hell are you going to measure such a tiny little amount of oil with a 3 ml syringe? That makes no sense at all. The other thing to keep in mind is the viscosity of the oil. There's some oils that are thicker than others, okay? So you could have a vial of enanthate in cottonseed oil, and then you switch to a cypionate that's in sesame seed oil, and you're like, wow, this cypionate is like way less thick than the other stuff was, and I can actually push this through a 30 gauge, no problem. Well, if it goes through a 30 gauge, no problem, use a 30 gauge. Okay, use the smallest needle size that you can, that's not going to cause damage. If you're used to delts, don't inject in your stupid delt every single time over and over and over and over and over. Okay, try to vary the spots. You know, do one side one side one time, one side the other time. There's a huge controversy about subcutaneous shots. I've done subcutaneous shots most of my time on TRT. I've done labs comparing subcutaneous with intramuscular. My labs have been the same. I feel the same.
When I'm doing daily shots, I'd much rather inject subcutaneously in the belly fat instead of constantly poking holes every single day in my muscles. And I get the same end result, same outcome. Now, if you find yourself doing subcutaneous and you say, I don't feel as good, it could just mean that your body doesn't seem to absorb it well subcutaneous. You really got to go IM. Okay. But delts is great. The glutes is great. My favorite shot spot is the ventrogluteal. Okay, so right here, if you lift your leg, you're going to feel a bulge happen right around here. Okay, anywhere in this area, anywhere here, even slightly behind that area, down into the butt. Okay, so this entire meaty area right here. Right now, I've been doing injections every second day. Okay, so all I do is I load up my syringe, I go to my counter and I lean up against my counter and allow this muscle to relax. Okay, so I'm lifting up, let's say the foot of this leg, I'm lifting it up off the ground, but keeping this area relaxed so that the muscle is soft, and I inject. Okay, I'm not injecting while I'm standing and putting pressure so that this muscle is flexed. Okay, so that's very important there. But this right now, to inject every second day, my absolute favorite spot. It goes in like butter, virtually no pain, no discomfort, no nothing. So I'll do, let's say, on my Monday, I'll go here, and then come, Wednesday, I'll switch over to, this area here or something like that. Okay. Those are my favorite spots. And even anything around the hip works too. Any of that muscly area over there works too. So you can experiment with that. I find it's simpler to give the shot there compared to the delt. It's less kind of finger acrobatics, if you will. So that's what I can say about that. Sarajit Singh, injecting testosterone can be toxic for the liver. In the long run, Dr. Eric Serrano mentioned that cream is better as compared to injections. Okay. Injecting the testosterone oil in the body has almost no impact on the liver. This is in contrast to any oral compounds. If you're taking some kind of anabolic steroids that are orals, those are going to go through the liver. Those will eventually cause liver issues. That's why guys doing cycles will typically do orals only for a couple of weeks, because they're really, really tough on the liver. If you're taking really, really low dose oxandrolone, also known as Anavar, it's not quite as liver toxic as we once thought. In lower doses and higher ones, it is. But when he was talking about the metabolites in the liver, it was just like a standard TRT dose injection and a standard application of the transscrotal cream, and he was checking the liver values to see what changes there were. He was seeing less of an impact on the cream versus the injections, but we're still like really, really, really low down. We're not in anywhere whatsoever in dangerous territory. Okay, there was a little bit of a variance between the two, but not necessarily enough to say you have to do cream and avoid injections because it mess up your liver. It's just not the case. Simon the amputee just left a tip of $4.99 super chat. He's asking total T900 NGDL SHBG 105 NMOL not on TRT. Any recommendations? Okay. Your issue right now is your total testosterone is at the higher end of the range. So your body is obviously very capable of making healthy levels of testosterone, but your sex hormone binding globulin is 105. And when you have high sex hormone binding globulin, you wind up with lower levels of free testosterone, okay? So what this means is that most testosterone that your bodies make are bound to this protein called sex hormone binding globulin, or SHBG, okay? And when it is bound to this enzyme, it's considered, at least up until recently, because now anyways, they're starting to realize that maybe it might not be the case as much as we thought, but when it's attached to this enzyme, it's typically considered to be biologically inactive, okay? So the body will make testosterone, it gets bound to this enzyme called SHBG, and SHBG will transport the testosterone throughout the body, delivering it into the target tissue, okay? Once the testosterone has become unbound from SHBG, now it is considered biologically active, okay? So that is a testosterone that has impact in the body. Okay, so if you got a total testosterone of 2,000 and your free testosterone is 2,
you're going to feel like shit. Okay, you'll have no like the free testosterone is what counts. Okay, so your doctors out there that are only measuring total testosterone and aren't measuring SHBG and aren't measuring free testosterone, you don't know what the hell you're doing. Okay, because I can get 10 guys with a total testosterone of 900, and they're all going to feel completely different. Their free testosterone levels are all going to be completely different. Some of them might feel like some of them might actually be jocks, and some of them can barely get out of bed. Okay. So there's two schools of thought here, Simon the amputee. One school of thought is try to lower sex hormone binding globulin completely. Not lower it completely, but focus on lowering sex hormone binding globulin. Some people have got that accomplished by taking something like Proviron, which is scripted in many, many parts of the world, sometimes even over the counter in many parts of the world. We don't really see it in Canada. We don't see it a ton in the US. Usually the US is more kind of underground. Even something like boron can help. You can even just do a quick little search, ways to lower SHBG. There's even some foods and some different things that can affect it. So you can try to lower that a little bit. The thing is that there's a lot of guys that were saying, oh, you can lower SHBG. So let me just lower it as low as we can get, because then I'll wind up with a much more free testosterone and I'll feel a hell of a lot better on what dose that I have. And that's not necessarily a good thing. Low levels of sex hormone binding globulin, we have studies that demonstrate it's an indicator of early mortality, okay? So typically healthier guys will have higher levels of sex hormone binding globulin. Now, if you want to, okay, it's true, you're not on TRT. I'll just mention this because I have it fresh in my head. If somebody is on TRT, has a total testosterone 900 with an SHBG of 105 and you want to bring it down, you want to be doing injections once a week. Okay, you want to be doing one big, huge injection once a week. That's going to drive down your SHBG. Okay, so testosterone is suppressive of SHBG. Conversely, estradiol, believe it or not, it raises SHBG. Okay, so if you're on if you got high SHBG on TRT, one shot a week is going to suppress it more than if you were doing small daily shots. Small daily shots is still suppressive, but not as suppressive as doing it once a week. Okay, keep that in mind. So you can actually modulate SHBG a little bit depending on your frequency of injection. So keep that in mind. Okay. Conversely, if you're on TRT and you have estradiol that's rock bottom, don't take injections once a week. First of all, you'll never feel stable, and second of all, you'll be driving it down even more. Okay, and most definitely don't block estradiol if you've got low HCG, because that's one of the things that's going to bring it up. Okay, so again, one school of thought was the Proviron and the boron and some of the other things you can look online. Certain foods apparently. But another thing that the doctors will do is they won't lower SHBG, but what they'll do instead is they will keep raising dose to overpower the SHBG. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, let's say you've got 900 nanograms per deciliter. Let's see if I can do this free testosterone calculator. I'll do the math really, really, really quick. Okay, so let's say your SHBG is 105 and your total testosterone is 900. Okay, that leaves you with a free testosterone of about 8.7. Okay, now 8.7 free testosterone, if you're in 20 or 30s, you're not going to feel too good. Okay, so what they will do then is they'll say, we're not going to try to lower your SHBG purposely. What we're going to do is we'll put you on TRT and get your levels way higher. Okay, again, two very different schools of thought, and if you put these two guys in a room, they're going to argue each other to death. I'm just explaining what the two sides are. So if you got your levels up to 1,800 nanograms per deciliter total, your free testosterone now falls to about 21.8, which is a hell of a lot better than the 8 you had before. The thing is that the once weekly shots you would be on would also start driving down SHBG a little bit, which means your free testosterone would come up, and you can eventually lower your dose a little bit. So there's two schools of thought. Is there one that's more correct than the other? I don't know. Like I said, I have seen enough documentation and literature to suggest you don't
necessarily want to take drugs to lower SHBG too much. It's not a good idea. Simply raise dose to compensate. It's been generally the rule of thumb among probably most of the physicians I deal with. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Aiden Billings, does NAC elevate RBC or hematocrit? I do not know enough about NAC to answer that question, unfortunately. Okay, NAC is, I know it's a fantastic antioxidant. I know it has got a number of positive impacts on the body. Does it have an impact on RBC or hematocrit? I don't know. Okay, so if I don't know, I'm not going to just pull an answer out of my ass and say, oh yeah, it does this and that. Okay, I'm trying to give you guys the most reliable I can. If I don't have the answer, I'm just going to say I don't know. Sometimes I don't know is the best answer. Got a guy here named Henscht Gamer. Hi there, I'm running 300 tests a week for 8 weeks, up from 200 milligrams TRT. I feel better than ever and sleeping better than ever. Life in all is much better. Is this too high to stay on for longer for safety? Okay. So we don't know, first of all, where were your levels at 200 milligrams a week in contrast to where are your levels now at 300 a week, okay? Now, if your level's at 200, okay, let me give you a perfect example. Let's assume you were like me. At 200 milligrams a week, I definitely felt better than I did prior to TRT, but something was off. And I was just like kind of right or like just below the top end of the range. My free testosterone was like below the top end of the range. I was feeling much better, so happy about that, but still symptomatic. I happen to be an outlier. I've needed as high as 300 milligrams a week to get my levels high enough to resolve symptoms for me. Now, for you, if you're saying, well, that's crazy, I only need 100. What the hell is this freaking idiot talking about? I need 100. And if I got on 300, that would be like a cycle. Yeah, for you, it would be a cycle. Okay. For me, if I got on 100, I would want to jump off a bridge. Okay. The dose is completely irrelevant. Again, take 100 guys and say, I'm going to give each you 150 milligrams a week. Some guys are going to have levels here, some will have here, some will have here, some will have here. They're all going to have different levels. Okay. So the level that you have for you is completely and utterly irrelevant for anyone else. Okay. So never judge somebody based on their level or their dose or their protocol and saying, well, I only take that. You know, Greg, I said I love him to death, but he tells people, I'm on injections every 5 days and I feel great. I have no reason. I don't understand why anyone else would more than five injections every 5 times a week, or 5 days a week. If I take 5 injections every 5 days, I'm screwed. I won't sleep. I'll be lying there like this. If I had to take one big shot every 5 days, I'm a wreck. Okay. So when I'm giving you guys information, I may give you my personal experience to use as an example, but that was for me. And this may or may not apply to you. Okay. So if that 200 milligrams a week you were taking got you feeling pretty good, and now you brought it up to 300, go check labs. If your free testosterone is now between, let's say, 30 to 50 NGDL, well, that'll explain it. Maybe the 200 wasn't enough. Now, if you were feeling fantastic on 200, and now you've jacked it up to 300, and now your free testosterone, you know, it's starting to get to the 80s or 90s NGDL, and you feel great. Okay, you feel great. Have we seen any demonstration of testosterone causing harm? No. Now you got to keep in mind that we don't really have that much study in regards to higher levels maintained for a long period of time. We have a lot of anecdotal evidence. We have evidence of guys on TRT for decades taking crazy high doses and nothing's ever happened to them. You can't necessarily look at the bodybuilding world because in the bodybuilding world, they're incorporating a lot of synthetic androgens. They're taking a lot of different anabolic steroids in crazy amounts. You can't use that as a comparison to something you're doing. So if you're going to read a study about these bodybuilders that are on all these kinds of compounds and oh, and this and this and this happened to them, that's not relevant to guys like you and I are just on test. Okay. Excuse me. So if it was the case that your free testosterone levels and total testosterone levels are like, you know, your free is getting to like 70 or 80, you have to say, okay, now I'm really, really, really up there. I feel fantastic. My sleep is good. My libido is good. Everything about me feels good. My blood pressure is under control. I have no issues to speak of. Is that harmful? I'd say listen to your body. However, considering that we don't know for sure, I would definitely recommend doing labs twice a year and check your blood values, check your liver profile, check your thyroid, check your all your blood values, check PSA, check as many things as possible to make sure that that higher level of testosterone isn't starting to throw something out of whack. Okay, so if every time you're doing labs, like, look, everything looks beautiful, I don't really see the harm personally. Now, if you're doing this higher level and suddenly your hematocrit's gone over, 60, and you're getting high blood pressure and you're breaking out in acne and you can't sleep, well, it's too much. Bring it down. Okay, so it's not really a simple answer. This is really going to depend on the individual. There's individuals out there that can take 300 milligrams a week and they're going to get their free testosterone to 150. You know what I mean? Is that healthy? You've gone, so far past what is considered TRT. We're not even in the same universe anymore. Now, is it going to cause you harm? We don't know. Get labs done, check everything under the sun and monitor it. If you see stuff getting off, drop the dose down. If you see everything is fantastic, who am I going to tell you to drop your dose? Your blood levels are perfect. Your labs are perfect. You feel fantastic. You're sleep and you're putting on. Do that. Who am I to tell you what to do? Robert Simpson. My urologist said they normally don't test free T and SHBG because it normally doesn't change his management. He only tests total testosterone, CBC without differential, and PSA. Your thoughts? Okay, my thoughts are as follows. Your doctor's a moron. Show him this video and say, Danny Bossa said you're a moron. You're a moron. You cannot dial in a guy by doing total testosterone only. You can't. Now, if you think you can, you're wrong. I got my free testosterone calculator over here. Okay, let's take a guy who's got a total testosterone of 1,000. Okay, we're gonna get two guys total testosterone of 1,000. One of them has an SHBG of 100. His free testosterone is going to be 10.4. Probably not going to feel very good with a free testosterone 10.4. But the other guy's got an SHBG of 10. He's going to have a free testosterone level of 36. So you got two guys, and they each got a total testosterone of 1,000. One has a free testosterone of 36, and the other one has a free testosterone of 10. Now, your idiot doctor is going to say, yeah, but they both have a total of 1,000. Your idiot doctor doesn't understand that the testosterone that is bound to SHBG is not biologically active. Only the free is. So if he's not getting an idea of how much free testosterone there is, he doesn't have a freaking clue what's going on in your body. Okay. Not only that, but without knowing your SHBG, what's your ideal frequency at injection? 100 milligrams, 100 SHBG. Give the guy once weekly shots. Hopefully, it'll drive down his SHBG a little bit and get his free testosterone up a little bit more. Okay, but the guy with an SHBG of 10, you know damn well you have to put this guy on daily or at the very minimum every other day shots. Okay, so this guy is going to say, I'm just going to measure this one thing, and I'm going to make my entire protocol based on this one value. This guy went to med school. Yeah, Robert Simpson. Find a way to message me on Facebook, and I can maybe point you in the direction of a couple of doctors that do know what they're doing. Yours is absolutely clueless. Your chances are you're wasting your time, and that's it. So next one over here, FR. Hey, Danny, love you guys' channel. Keep it up. Thanks, FR. Thanks for watching. Neil Adams, does shining red light therapy on your balls help boost your test? So I have seen a couple of these articles and these videos. Does it work to the extent that they're saying? I don't know. Keep in mind, when you're on testosterone replacement therapy, your balls are shut down. So let's say a guy like me who's been on testosterone replacement therapy for 7 years, if I shone the, and it's not just any red lights, okay? You don't just take a red freaking light bulb and put some freaking red cellophane around it and say, this is red light, I'm going to boost my testosterone shining my balls. Like, no, okay? It's going to be a specific kind of red light. If you're shining it on someone who's got shutdown, testicular shutdown, isn't going to do anything. I don't know. If you're on TRT, you want to boost your test, raise your dose, right? So this would have to be for guys specifically that are not on TRT. There is a lot of stuff online. I don't know a heck of a lot about it. I'm definitely not an expert at shining light on my balls. I'm on testosterone, so my ball function is kind of like a moot point at this point. What you can do, Neil, to demonstrate this for yourself is get the correct red light. So Google what that is. Go get labs done in your natty self. Same time of day. Get your labs done, and then shine the red light on your balls for an hour, half hour, whatever they recommend a day for, let's say, a month, and then go get labs done again. And if your levels have shot up, I guess it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Maybe it shot up a little bit. Is it going to shoot up enough to make you not be symptomatic? I don't know. There's a lot of people that want to do a lot of crazy stuff to boost their natural levels of testosterone. And yes, of course, you can get off your lazy ass and start to exercise and start eating better food and cut back on alcohol and cut back on sugar and do everything to remove these xenoestrogens and phytoestrogens, environmental estrogens from your environment. Go through your cosmetics, get rid of all that stuff as much as possible. That in itself might just be enough to get your levels up to a point that you're like, man, I feel I've done better than I did before. Well, then don't go do TRT. But if you've tried all these things, you're not getting anywhere. To say, well, now I got to try to shine some light on my balls. Just get on the freaking TRT, okay? I spent so much time with supplements and this and that, and it must be my estrogen. And before we moved into this house, I threw out a pharmacy's worth of supplements. And I'm going back saying to myself, why the hell did I just get on TRT and just been done with it? Okay. Once you get on it and you fix yourself, you can say, why the hell did I wait so long? Okay. So don't wait. Life is too short. TRT hormone optimization. If you value the content brought on this channel, we'd appreciate if you use the super chat. That's the little $sign in the type box. Donate $1 as a tip. Kushal Mishram. How can one remain fertile on TRT? What is the frequency of HCG injection? I'm on 1,000 milligrams of test undecanoate. Okay. Wondering how you're feeling on this 1,000 milligrams of test undecanoate. HCG is pretty much the go-to, or at least it was up until recently, that now the FDA and Health Canada and all these places are trying to restrict its use. But when you're on testosterone replacement therapy, it turns off the signaling of the hypothalamus to the pituitary to send a signal to your testicles to make more testosterone. Okay, that whole messaging system stops, and your testicles stop making testosterone. And the lack of that intratesticular testosterone also lowers the amount of sperm being produced. Okay, so you've got your luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone. Those hormones drop, you wind up with less sperm count. Now, please keep in mind that testosterone is not the birth control method that some idiots out there used to think it was. There was even studies about it. I know plenty of guys taking testosterone only and impregnating their wives and girlfriends and thinking, oh, I thought I was shut down. I thought I didn't have sperm. It only takes one little swimmer. One little swimmer gets done, like that's it. You're a dad. So keep that in mind. Okay, so for HCG, for fertility purposes, okay, so let's say for atrophy purposes, because some guys are obsessed with the size of their balls, and then there's other guys that when they're getting on TRT, the atrophy, because your balls will shrink a little bit, the atrophy process is so painful they can't deal with it. Some guys get a little bit of atrophy and they don't really feel much. I was somewhere in the middle, like it was uncomfortable for like a couple of days, and then I just went away. But for atrophy, 300 to 350 IU injected twice a week is usually sufficient to prevent atrophy, or at least reverse atrophy. If you're going to start getting into fertility, that in itself, okay. If fertility is really like, I got to impregnate my wife like sooner rather than later, 500 IU twice a week for a total of 1,000 IU usually is sufficient. Again, there are always exceptions. I have seen guys having to go to 15,000 IU a week of HCG just to get a half decent sperm count to get their significant other pregnant. My advice to you is start with 500 IU twice a week for a total of 1,000. Do that, let's say that 2-month period, and then go get a sperm count done. If your sperm count is decent, the motility is decent, hey, stick with that. If sperm count is still low, motility, bump up your dose. Maybe bring it up to 1,500. Do 2 shots of 750, or maybe do 3 shots of 500. Okay, you keep raising. Go to test in about 2 months. Raise a little bit more. Go to test until you've got decent amount of sperm count. Also, please keep this in mind, and a lot of people don't know this. I got on HCG to get my wife pregnant. I hated every second of. Wait, that came out funny. I enjoyed every second of getting her pregnant, I can assure you, but I hated every second of not being of being on HCG. Okay, I felt miserable as fuck on HCG. Okay, my back broke out in acne. I had body pains everywhere. My libido, my erections were shot. I just felt like garbage. Okay, but some of you guys take HCG and feel like $1 million. Point I'm trying to make is, I was on HCG already, knowing that we were going to be planning on doing this, and then I went to get my sperm count done, and my sperm count was actually not bad. I still wasn't getting her pregnant, and we're trying, and all the focus is on me. It seems like when the woman isn't getting pregnant, especially if the guy's on TRT, it's like, oh, it must be your testosterone, it must be your fault. Not always. It happens, or so happened, that my wife was deficient in progesterone. So being on my HCG and whatever, we're not getting it done, I started saying, maybe it's not me. We've never done any evaluation of you. Let's get it checked out. She was deficient in progesterone. She started supplementing with progesterone. 2 months later, she was pregnant. Okay, so if you're trying to get your significant other pregnant and your sperm count is good, get her checked. Okay, get her hormones checked, nutritional imbalances, food intolerances, whatever. It's not always the guy's fault. Okay, keep that in mind. Max Care Heating and Cooling. Hi, Danny. My free T is 267 NG from a range of 196 to 635. Do you think I'm low? I feel tired most of the time, and I can't get any muscle in the gym. 267 is low. Now, I've seen tens of thousands of questions like yours or posts and forums. My level is X. Is this low? Should I get on TRT? If your level was 267, you're having sex with your wife 3 times a day, and you're going to the gym and you're like 240 pounds ripped, I wouldn't change anything. I mean, everything's working out well. But if you're saying my libido sucks and my erection sucks, I'm tired, I can't get out of bed, and my levels are 267, that might be something to address. Okay, so I brought up this as a disclaimer at the beginning of the video. I own an IT consulting company. Okay, so all I do is it's logic, critical thinking, common sense, troubleshooting. Troubleshoot. That's all I do is troubleshooting. I have to solve problems. I have to come up with answers to problems. Sometimes we have a problem where the solution isn't necessarily all that obvious. So all we can do is we can try to look at problems that we can identify and say, well, let's do our best to fix these problems that we can identify to see if it actually fixes the problem we want to fix. Okay? So if you just sit there and you say, well, I don't know what to do, well, obviously nothing's going to change. So if you say, well, I'm vitamin D deficient. Okay, well, let's bring up vitamin D. Oh, I find I got to, okay, well, let's fix that also. Let's bring that, any little bug that you can find, try to fix to see if it fixes the outcome. So your testosterone levels are clearly low. Ask yourself, is there something in my diet? Is there something in my environment? Have I been exercising? Am I eating well? Am I smoking all day long? Am I drinking alcohol all day long? Am I just sitting on my ass? Is there a way maybe I can find a way to bring my levels up? If you bring them up and you feel great, that was your problem. If you've done everything in your power to bring those levels up, you still feel like crap, you can say, well, let me do a trial of TRT. Let me do a trial of bringing my testosterone levels up to see what outcome it has. If you bring your levels up using a competent provider who knows what the hell they're doing with a proper injection frequency at decent levels, You know, I'm not talking I'm at a free T of 5 and I got my free T up to 12. No, I'm talking get your free T up to something that makes sense, like at least 25 NGDL, if not higher. If you've done that for 2 months, 3 months, and you're like, yeah, it's not helping. Well, you fix that issue, but chances are testosterone was your problem. Maybe it was thyroid. Maybe it was a whole bunch of other stuff. I've been feeling run down this last couple of days and I didn't even know why. Is it my protocol? Maybe my E2 is high. No, I just found I got shingles. Okay, so guys, it's not always your protocol. It could be your stress. Maybe you're not sleeping as good. All this coronavirus bullshit going on. Everyone is stressed the fuck out. Okay, and everyone's complaining about the protocols. No, you're stressed the fuck out. Your protocol worked just fine before. When all this stuff is gone, your protocol is going to work just fine. Don't always point to it's my E2, it's my protocol, it's my this and that. Look at everything as a whole and address everything. What's my stress like? I'm saying I'm not that stressed. Am I not stressed? Am I in denial? And you start doing a little introspection. You know what, my stress, I have been pretty freaking stressed lately and I'm not sleeping well. I'm not eating as much. I'm skipping days at the gym or whatever it is. These are going to cause issues. Okay, so you can do a trial TRT, see if that helps. Don't just focus on testosterone. Thyroid, again, huge one for thyroid. If your TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, should be as close to 1 as possible. Okay, so if it's at 3 or above 3, it means your body is making a lot of this thyroid stimulating hormone to try to create thyroid hormone in general. That might be a sign that you're hypothyroid. That might be a sign that you need to take some thyroid to help your body out because it's just not getting the job done. Your free T3 levels should be as close to 5 as possible. Okay, so if your free T3 is at 2, you're going to need some thyroid. Bring that up to 5, and suddenly it's like the sun came out, and you feel fantastic. Okay, so don't just focus on T. You got to get a competent provider that's going to look at all these factors. What's your liver function like? What are your lipids like? What are your blood pressure? Everything. Okay, it's not always testosterone. Shining. Okay, let me go back here. Don't forget to hit the like. Ali Gilbert. Who's Ali Gilbert? I've heard that name before. Ali Gilbert. Oh, wait, is she that little blonde chick that talks about boners on YouTube all the time? I think that's her. Whose beard would you rather make out with, Gil and Dave? Gil or Dave, and why? That's a good question, Ali. I'm going to answer every freaking question in this chat. So you got Gil. Gil's got the long beard, like the ZZ Top stuff, like the biker stuff. I was never really into bikers. But Dave Lee just looks like such an alpha. He'd probably just make me my bitch. So I'm going to go with Dave Lee, Ali, to answer your question. And I mean full on tongue in the beard, minimum of 14 seconds. Well, so Dave does kind of like delving into psychedelics. So if Dave would take some kind of psychedelics so he wouldn't remember it afterwards, I think maybe work something out. This is a joke, guys. don't take me seriously here. Trevor, have you seen any success lowering estrogen with DIM and calcium deglucarate instead of an AI? I don't want to take an astrazole. Trevor, I want you to, hopefully you're still watching this, I want you to type why you want to lower estrogen. Why? What, and when you're saying estrogen, what estrogen? Are you trying to lower estradiol, estrone, estriol, phytoestrogens, xenoestrogens? What estrogen are you trying to lower and why? And then I can answer. ID Kid, on TRT, I understand the ejaculate is less thick. Not in my case, it's not. Do any of these products that claim to increase load amount help with that? Any way around it at all? Sounds silly, but I miss the sensation of thicker. Do any of these products claim? So ID Kid, you didn't list the products. So I don't know what products you're referring to. I'm going to give you some, a little anecdote, if you will. And I've brought this up to a couple of guys and they've told me the same. When I was on 200 milligrams a week, and again, please keep in mind that's a high dose for many of you. But for me, 200 milligrams is the equivalent of 100 for most of you. Okay, there was almost no volume.
It was like pathetic. It was really, really odd. And at one point, I needed to raise my dose because I was just getting a sensation that it wasn't enough. And I went to 300 milligrams a week, which is kind of like 200 for most of you guys. Okay. Volume went up considerably, and not the watery stuff like thick, like full on, like pre-TRT normal. Okay. It's, if anything, and this is odd, and I don't even understand why, it's better now than it was prior to TRT. So you can check that out. There was an herb, not, was it anise or was it shit, something related to anise, some kind of an herb that you can take that apparently jacked up levels. But I haven't discussed it in a while. The name escapes me right now, so sorry I couldn't answer more on that. But if you can post what these products were, I'll answer it. Flex T, hi Danny, I was taking testosterone for years in August. I checked my T levels. I was over 1500 at 220 milligram a week. So I felt that was too high. So went down 100 milligram a week. So I rechecked it, and now my T levels are down. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, okay, you're going into multiple messages. Let me try this again. Hi, Danny. I was taking testosterone for years in August. I checked my T levels. I was over 1500. Okay, now when you're saying I was over 1500, are you using that stupid test that only goes up to 1500 and it says greater than 1500? Because you realize that could mean 1501, or that can mean 5,000, or that can mean 10 million. Okay, all we know is it's more than 1500. So it's a completely useless test. 220 milligram a week. So I felt this was too high. Okay, so you felt this was too high based on what? Because of the number? You saw a number like, oh, that's high, I need to lower it. Were you symptomatic on a lower dose? Were you, I don't just lower doses based on numbers, okay? I don't just say, oh, your number's here, you have to lower your dose. What if you try to lower dose and that's where you're symptomatic? Why would you lower the dose, okay? I hate when people say, oh, your level is here, you have to lower your dose. People are saying that need to STFU because you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You don't know what this person did prior, okay? This is why you need to ask a lot of questions, okay? So you went down to 150 milligrams. Wait, 150 NG. I was taking testosterone for years in August. I checked my T levels. I was over 1500 at 220 a week. Felt this was high, went down to 100 milligrams a week. You went down from 220 milligrams down to 100. Okay, so I don't know if you're self-medicating or if a doctor told you to do that, but you're silly. And if you had a doctor that told you to do that, please slap your doctor out for me twice. Actually, slap them out for a couple minutes. So down to 150 and estrogen under 51. Okay, first of all, estrogen, as long as there's not a deficiency, we don't really care about estrogen because the measurement is kind of useless in the absence of a deficiency. So I feel like crap, so I upped my dosage again to 200 milligrams a week. Okay, so you're at 220, saw a number, thought it was too high, dropped all the way down to 120, which is nuts. Back up to 200. I'm not even gonna read anymore. I'm gonna guess you feel like a bag of shit right now. You say liver tests, my enzymes are always elevated. I was told because of heavy weights. What other tests should we look for besides liver enzymes to test liver function? Mine are always high because I do blood work always next day after heavy training. Okay. Your liver enzymes could absolutely be high and having absolutely nothing to do with the testosterone you're injecting. Your liver enzymes could be high from your diet. They could be high from taking alcohol. They could be high from a number of things. If this is a doctor that is telling you to do this, please run for your life from this doctor. Okay, you can hop into the Facebook group. We can put you in touch with, there's a whole bunch of really, really good doctors in there. I don't make any money referring doctors. All I do is if someone says, I'm looking for a good doctor, I'm like, I know this guy's good, that guy's good, and I have a whole network of doctors. I know it's good. Go see those guys. You don't have to tell them I sent you. I know they're good. Okay, so I'm just trying to set you up with someone who knows what the hell they're doing. If you're on Facebook, if you're not on Facebook, you can email me, danielbossa@hotmail.com. But yeah, this is not an easy question. Not a, you're all over the map. This could be anything. Chi-Town Joe 68. Have you ever heard of elevated heart rate while supplementing with DHEA and pregnenolone? Elevated heart rate, DHEA and pregnenolone. I have not heard of it. If I have heard of it, I don't remember. Can it cause it? Maybe. I can't say I've heard of it. So to answer your question, I haven't heard of it, but I can't tell you that no, it's impossible. If it's the best answer I give you there. John Smith, are there any lab tests for chronic stress, and what are they? You know, you can do the typical morning cortisol tests and whatnot. Beyond that, that's not really my area of expertise, if I can call it an area of expertise. I wouldn't know enough about that. I'd probably speak with a functional medicine practitioner for something like that. Patandi, copper supplement 2.5 micrograms a day on TRT has put my hemoglobin through the roof. Okay, so don't take the copper supplement. Ken, can I get the COVID vaccine and my weekly TRT dose in the same syringe? Sure. I like that one, Ken. That's a good one. Matt Mason. Okay, a chipped wood design. I see there's a super chat. I'm gonna answer this question from Matt Mason quick, and then I'm gonna answer yours right away immediately after. I won't miss you, I promise. Why put that poison in your TRT shot? Are you trying to cancel out the benefits of testosterone? I mean, if you want blood clots and a heart attack, have at it, mans. Okay, I didn't say that. I'm just reading. Okay, so all you leftists and whatnot, I just reading what's on the screen. Chipped Wood Design Co. The super chat $4.99. Thank you very much. Dealing with back shoulder acne. I was on 200 milligrams SIP weekly. I've lowered the dose to 180 to try to resolve the issue. It persists. Any help? Okay. If you were prone to acne when you were a teen, there's a very high chance that if you're jacking up your levels high enough, the acne will come back. Okay. That being said, I have seen guys resolve their acne from all kinds of weird stuff. Now, when I got on TRT, I had some nasty ass acne. Like, it was really bad because I had like huge cherries on my back with like the big white things that would stick out and you just squeeze and just like explode. I had them on my face. Really, really, really bad when I was young. And I got on TRT, not so much on the face, but I was getting a lot on my shoulders. I was getting a lot on my back. If you look at the video actually that I did about how I fixed my gyno, I took off my t-shirt and I had pimples all over the place. Okay, as you can see here, I just got a bad. See, no pimples. Pimples are all gone. In my case, I was drinking a shit ton of caffeine every day. I was drinking coffee throughout the day. And coffee is known to raise cortisol, and cortisol is a stress hormone. And when you raise the stress hormone in the body, it can have secondary effects. Some people get acne, a number of different things. I cut caffeine down by a lot. And it was an experiment that my wife wanted to do. She says, I wanted to see if we cut out caffeine, reading a lot of bad stuff about it. Let's see what it does. Would you have to help me? So I had to, take part because I wasn't going to make a pot of coffee in the morning and she's staying away from caffeine. And after 30 days, we did a little assessment. My sleep was significantly improved, but the biggest improvement of all is my acne is gone. Like gone. I got nothing on my arms. A lot of this is scars I had back when I had acne, but all the stuff on my arms is gone. All of my back is gone. I'll get an occasional little, like I got a tiny little pimple over here right now. I get the occasional little pimple once in a while, but outside of that, it's gone. And the only thing that I changed is I cut out caffeine, and I'm also religiously taking 5,000 to 10,000 IU vitamin D every single day. I take multiple grams of vitamin C a day. So I don't know if these things all contributed, but the caffeine for me was a huge one. Something for you to try. It could also be a food intolerance. I have some people cut out certain types of food like dairy. Suddenly their acne clears up. Gluten is another huge one. Try going gluten-free for 30 days. If your acne improves, there you go. Get your liver function tested. Poor liver function. You got to build up of all these, again, environmental estrogens that can cause acne. Improve the liver function if the acne goes away. Well, there you go. Okay, so it's not always necessarily tied to testosterone. It could be a number of other factors. So try to investigate all the factors.
So I hope that answers your question. Kim Sing Ray, if you injecting twice a week, but you miss a week by mistake or miss a shot, does it really make that much of a difference once you're optimized? No, it doesn't. Okay. In my case, when I'm on daily shots, if I skip a dose, the next day I might say, oh, I missed yesterday's dose. I might double up on that dose just to get my levels back to where they should have been. Or I might just say the hell with it. I'll just take my shot today and I'll keep going. I missed one dose. What's it going to do? I've never seen it change much in me at all. Okay. So if 1 week you're a little off and the next week you're back to normal, I really wouldn't worry about it. You got to keep in mind that when you're starting TRT, it's not like you take a shot and your levels are here. Okay. The levels are being raised over time. Okay. So you're loading, you're doing kind of a loading phase, if you will, to get it to a certain point, and eventually it'll plateau. Okay. So if you miss a week, it's going to come down a little bit, but then the next week you're taking again, it's just going to come right back up to where it was before. Okay. So I wouldn't worry about it. Some people I get messages, people in the middle of the night, I missed the dose, I don't know what to do, or I gave myself my shot, and when I took out the needle, some of the oil came out. What do I do? And they're in panic. Guys, it's no, don't worry about it. It's just you can decide. You're doing daily. Maybe I want to double up my dose. You know, you were late. You know, maybe you're doing your shots Mondays and Thursdays. You missed your Thursday's dose. Well, then fuck it. I'll take it Friday. I'll take my shot, or maybe I'll take it Saturday and Monday, or maybe I'll take it Friday because I missed Thursday. But now instead of doing Monday and Thursday, I'll do Fridays and Tuesdays. You know, Tuesdays and Fridays. I'll just move to that. Okay, this is not something for you guys to panic over by any stretch of the imagination. Rick the Ruler, how can I contact Gil? Does I have a personal email or someone I can talk to? I want to ask general questions. Okay, Rick the Ruler, there is a site called, let me just get it over here, next level dietetics, I believe it is. No, that's not it. Hold on, I'm gonna get this for you, my friend. Just give me one fast second. Gil does have a site. Okay, so Gil owns a string of clinics, okay, but he also does consults as a non-physician to maybe guys that are using a different physician and want some advice, or maybe they're doing stuff outside of TRT, wink wink, okay, and want a little bit of information there. I'm gonna post in the chat his site. Okay, so you should see that now at the bottom of the comments. I posted his site. You can click on that and you can request a consultation with Gil. Not a problem at all. Dr. Strange, I'm not taking anything other than testosterone, which is dialed in. No vitamins, not anything other than a healthy diet, cardio, lifting, sleep. Should I add anything else for TRT or be content? So you say you feel good, you're eating well, your testosterone protocol is good. You're lifting weights, you're getting cardio, and you're getting good sleep. I mean, you're better than 99% of the people out there. What I would recommend is get your vitamin D levels checked. I like to have vitamin D at the absolute top end of the range. Vitamin D is the most powerful hormone. Yes, it's a hormone. We call it a vitamin. It's a hormone, okay? And I take, without fail, well, I don't know if it's coming out backwards or whatever on yours, maybe not. Oh no, it's true, it's reversed on YouTube. I take, and I'm not promoting the brand. Okay, we can turn the brand around. I'll give a shit about the brand. Get a half decent vitamin D, 5,000 IU a day is one. Some guys have seen benefit adding 25 milligrams, 25 to 50 milligrams of DHEA a day. Start with 25. If you see some benefit, take it. If you don't bother. But if your nutrition is really that good, might not need. There is a school of thought that says, and there's a lot of legitimacy to school of thought, that the nutrition that we're having today doesn't have nearly the same amount of vitamins and minerals of the same foods that we were eating 50 years ago or 100 years ago. And due to that and that alone, sometimes it is good to supplement with a half decent multivitamin, or at least a B complex, because we're not getting the same nutrients out of our food as we used to. Okay, so you could say, oh yeah, I eat steak and vegetables and this and that, and I'm healthy. Yeah, but it's lacking compared to what it used to. So you can always bump it up with some good vitamin mineral supplements. Okay. And outside of that, again, you can get your thyroid levels checked. Again, free T3 should be close to about 5. TSH should be closer to about 1. If it's significantly off, maybe try trial thyroid. You gotta take a little bit of thyroid every day. That's helped me a lot. But outside of that, you're probably good. Rafael Campos, amazing information. Once again, thank you, Danny. Thank you, Rafael. Connor McGuire, I get debilitating brain fog on TRT if I do not use HCG with every shot. Is there an understanding of what this means? We're still kind of trying to figure out, with study, what's entailed here. So there's some doctors that say that when you are on TRT, because the hypothalamus and the pituitary are no longer signaling the testes to produce luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone, that sometimes that there's a breakdown in the downstream hormones. And there is a lowering of neurotransmitters. The thing is that I've done so many labs and I've seen so many labs of guys that they're actually measuring their DHEA levels, they're measuring their pregnenolone levels, and they're all still fine. Some of them are elevated. So clearly that DHEA and pregnenolone is coming from somewhere. Now, is it having an impact on neurotransmitters? As we know, neurotransmitter levels are a little bit more difficult to measure, and we're not going to measure our neurotransmitter levels when we're going to run our standard labs. So if you're feeling better with HCG, obviously you want to take it. You could try taking pregnenolone instead of the HCG. Try a small amount of pregnenolone and work your way up. Just ensure you don't have that libido annihilating effect that I get with pregnenolone. Some other people do. But I have seen people that have taken pregnenolone and that brain fog has just vanished. And then their libido and erections are even better than before. You got to keep in mind when you look at the pathway of hormones, you just Google hormone pathway chart, and you see cholesterol and pregnenolone, and then all the downstream hormones, the DHEA goes to testosterone, goes to estradiol, and blah, blah, blah. You look at the one for pregnenolone, and it can head in different directions, okay? So some of it might create more DHEA or progesterone. Now, you don't know which pathway your body prefers. So your body could be wired in such a way that as you're raising pregnenolone, all it's doing is it's jacking up your progesterone levels. In other guys, they're raising pregnenolone and it's raising their DHA and other stuff, and they feel a lot better. So you don't know what the preference is. So it's really a matter of experimentation. Try some and see how you feel. If you take a little bit of pregnenolone, you're working your way up and you feel like $1 million, well, obviously pregnenolone is having a benefit. Okay, DHA is another one like that. That's pretty much the extent of, are there places out there where we can actually get actual neurotransmitters measured? Potentially, you'd have to look into that. At Taylor 704, I've shared your videos with 2 friends that are 49 and 50 that both had all the classic mental and health problems. They angrily took the videos to their doctors and got started. Thanks a lot. You're welcome. That's awesome to hear. Katori Alexander, and clomiphene versus HCG. I will take HCG 100 times out of 100. I do not like clomiphene. No. If you're going to be doing an HPTA restart, I actually still prefer tamoxifen and other stuff over in clomiphene. I don't like in clomiphene. Okay, so HCG 100 times out of 100. Now again, is this going to be to take alongside TRT, or is this to be doing like monotherapy? If it's monotherapy, I mean, 1 million times out of 1 million, I'll prefer HCG monotherapy over in clomiphene. That's for sure. The Scorpion King, sup? It's Tori Alexander, injecting into fat versus muscle. I did a video about a year ago as why I don't recommend people doing, why I'm no longer recommending intramuscular injections anymore, and I'm subcutaneous injections anymore. I much prefer subcutaneous. Try that again. I much preferred at the time recommending intramuscular. It's old, you know, intramuscular injections over subcutaneous. The reason why I did that video is because I was dealing with so many guys saying, I've tried this, I've tried this, I've tried this, I've tried this. I was dealing with the problematic guys, okay? And oftentimes these problematic guys were not getting serum levels that made sense in relation to their testosterone dose. I would tell them to go intramuscular, and suddenly their levels would shoot up like crazy, they'd feel better. So something about their bodies made it so that they get much higher levels and better symptom resolution on intramuscular instead of subcutaneous. However, with time and experience, I'm realizing that that is a very small subset of guys. I've seen so many guys that have switched from one to the other. Serum levels have been virtually the same. The way they felt has been virtually the same. I've tested this on myself. I've now just switched back to every other day intramuscular injections, ventral gluteal. I feel the same. There's no real change. I'll probably go do labs and they're gonna be the same just as last time. So if you've tried both and you feel the same either way, I would really have it boiled down to how often you're injecting. If you're injecting once a week, by all means, do intramuscular, okay? Especially if you're taking a high amount. If you're taking 200 milligrams a week and you're gonna inject 1 ml into your body, I mean, you don't wanna do that subcutaneous. You're gonna wind up with a massive welt. You know, if you're doing 100 milligrams a week, so it's 50 milligrams you're doing twice weekly, so you're doing 0.25 ml twice a week, yeah, you could do that subcutaneous. And if you do subcutaneous, you feel fine, do that. If you start doing subcutaneous, you feel worse, go back to intramuscular, okay? This is examples of times where labs aren't needed. You can feel where you feel better. I started doing sub-Q and I feel like shit. And every time I go back to IM, I feel better. Then do that. If you feel the same either way, then pick which one works best for you. If you feel better doing daily sub-Q, I've seen guys that they take intramuscular shots and they're hypersensitive to testosterone and get crazy anxiety. And they say, I don't get that same anxiety when I'm doing subcutaneous, because subcutaneous is thought to release testosterone more slowly than having it hit the bloodstream all at once through intramuscular, okay? So it's a more slow, gradual release for some guys, which is sometimes just enough to keep anxiety at bay, okay? So try the method that works best for you based on how you feel. If you want to run labs and see which ones you're getting better numbers at, especially if you got a doctor who's super conservative, he's like, you know, I can't prescribe more than 100 milligrams a week because anything over that is steroids. You just want to, you know, like, okay, 100 milligrams. Well, let me try sub-Q, let me try IM, and I'll see which ones I get better levels from, because that's all the only amount this guy wants to give me. And obviously, if you're injecting often, you know, do you want to inject, you know, I mean, and maybe you only know how to inject in your left delt. Do you want to poke a hole in there every single day? I'd probably say go sub-Q. You know, when I'm doing daily, I'm doing sub-Q. I don't want to poke a hole every single day in my muscle. What time we're at here? 2:54. Holy shit, we've gone 2 hours already. I'm going to do, okay. Let me just look through here. Okay, guys, we've gone 2 hours at this point. There are 2 super chat questions remaining, and I'm going to answer that one. I'm going to apologize for all the ones that I missed. Sometimes I do go long, but please keep in mind that if it's your question, you're not going to want a 5-second answer from me. You're going to expect that I give you everything I can give you on the subject, right? So I try to do my best at the time. There are a lot of people. There's 92 people watching. I'm going to try to do these Ask Me Anythings more often. I may potentially even do them every 2 weeks. Okay. But I'm going to do for now the 2 super chat questions, and we'll call it. And I'm going to try to organize another one in 2 weeks from now. The guys that whose answers I didn't answer, save your questions, please, And next time you get the notification that there's going to be another live stream, post your comments right away so that they're there. And this way, when I start, I can get to them immediately. Okay, because I can't just do this till next week. Patrick Bradley, $20 super chat, is asking, hi, my clinic, Marek Health, is keeping me on enclomiphene for 9 months total now. Despite my symptoms, I've asked to explore TRT, but I am ignored since my blood work is supposedly coming back as phenomenal. What should I do? So Marek Health is the clinic that belongs to Derek from More Plates, More Dates. I got a lot of respect for Derek. I actually wrote him lately about something, and he never wrote me back. So whatever. I don't know why anyone would keep you on Clomid monotherapy. Here is the big question here, or not the big question, but the big answer. Guys that get on enclomiphene monotherapy, Clomid monotherapy, their levels get really high on paper. Their idiot doctors are going to say, oh, look at your levels. You must be fine. See where your level is? You must be fine. Yeah, but I feel like shit. Yeah, but I mean, look at your levels. You got nice levels. Look at the number. Look at the number. Look how pretty that number is. Look, I'm going to give that number a kiss. It's so pretty. You are fine. If you say you're not fine, it's all in your head. It's all, you're fine. No. I have seen countless guys get on Clomid monotherapy. It jacks their levels way up and they feel like shit. Okay? Get your levels up to the same amount using TRT, and I absolutely guarantee you're going to feel a hell of a lot different than Clomid monotherapy. Okay? Now, you've asked, they're ignoring you, you're paying the money, you feel like shit, and you're paying, and they don't want to. You know that there's other clinics out there that know what the hell they're doing? And I'll say, yes, if you're not feeling good on Clomid monotherapy, we should try something else. You know why we should try something else? Because you came to our clinic and gave us a lot of money. Why? Because you didn't feel good, right? So we decided to start with this treatment and you don't feel good. So now we're going to put this treatment aside and we're going to try something different. And we're going to try stuff until you feel good. Because if we ignore you, you're going to go somewhere else, right? Right? Okay. So this now is a sign to leave Marek Health because they are ignoring you, as you said. And there are lots of other clinics out there that will be more than happy to help you out, even sometimes regardless of your labs. Now, if you go to these clinics and you show your pre-TRT labs and say, this is where I was pre-TRT, but now I'm on Clomid monotherapy and my levels are here, but I still feel like crap, I want to try TRT, they will help you. Now, if you show up with your levels this high and say, I no longer have my labs, but these are my labs when I'm on Clomid monotherapy, you need to be dealing with a doc who knows what the hell they're doing. Like, okay, his levels are here. What are you taking? Oh, you're taking this much Clomid a week? Okay, that's why your levels are high. This also explains why you feel like crap. We're going to put you on tier 2 and that's it. There are clinics out there that will help you. Shoot me off an email, danielbossa@hotmail.com. I can refer you several. Join the Facebook group, post where you're located, especially if you're going to send me an email, please post where you're located. I don't know where a doctor is in every single state. Unfortunately, I know several states. A lot of them do telemed. So if I don't know a doctor specifically in your state, I can at least refer one that does telemed. In Canada, right now, I've got my own doc in Quebec who's winding down because he's retiring. And I've got a really, really good doc in Ontario who only does Ontario physicians. I got nothing in Canada right now. I got one other clinic in Alberta I have to check out because I personally call and vet anybody I ever refer to. But right now I've got one good one in Ontario. If you're in Ontario, wondering what that is, shoot me off a message. Also, kind of long story, they don't want me just writing the link publicly. TRT in Canada is kind of under attack. It's being frowned upon. The medical boards are looking at anyone doing TRT. So I don't want to just say, oh, the clinic is called this and put all these shiny neon lights. They asked me not to. So join the Facebook group or message me on Facebook if you got Facebook Messenger, or send me a message on email, danielbossa@hotmail.com. And if you're in Ontario, I'll send you the link to that site. This isn't in no attempt for me to get referral fees. Again, I don't get referral fees. I really get money with my business. Okay, this is really to help you. I'm dialed in. I feel fantastic. I don't need to change anything. I haven't need to change anything. This is to help you. This is to answer your questions. This is my free time out of my day to help you out. Okay. So Patrick Bradley, I hope that answered your question. Last question. Genetic freak Total test 1189 NGDL, free test 39 PGML. 39, I'm going to think that it's NGDL, your free test, and not, because otherwise it means you have a free T of 3.9, which is impossible with 1189. Estradiol 55.6. Tips to increase libido, lower lethargy. Should I increase my test dosage? Genetic freak, we have no idea what your protocol is. I have no idea what your SHBG is. If I use my free testosterone calculator, I might be able to take a guess what your SHBG is. So your free test was 39, so 39, so it's 18, 17, maybe about 17. Yeah, 17. Your SHBG, according to my calculations, and I could be wrong, is about 17. Now, if you have a SHBG of 17, I would highly recommend, especially considering the issues you're having, if you have not started doing daily shots or every other day, do that. I would probably say maybe do every other day shots. If you're doing once weekly shots with your SHBG at 17, you're probably going to feel like crap. Twice weekly, you can probably say my libido needs a little bit of work. My overall energy throughout the day needs a little bit of work. One of the biggest factors that affects libido and just overall tiredness, brain fog, is when your hormone levels are just going up and down and up and down and up and down all week, up and down. It's just, it messes up everything else because there is no stability, there's no homeostasis. Natural guys, they do produce testosterone mostly in the morning, and there's a drop throughout the day, but we're talking about a peak and it goes down a little bit and it kind of goes up and goes down. And there's a small little variance day by day by day, but this is nowhere near the same as, let's say, some guy with single digit SHBG who takes 200 milligrams at the beginning of the week, and within a couple of days, he's just tanked, okay? Because you got to keep in mind, when you don't have sufficient levels of sex hormone binding globulin, the testosterone isn't attaching anymore. So it's just free. It's just freely circulating, gets metabolized in no time, and it's in and out, boom, okay? So this is really, really important to increase your injection frequency. And yes, I realize that injecting more often can be a pain in the ass, but once you've got your protocol figured out and you feel good, it's really not quite the pain in the ass. I feel so good these days that even if I get to do my shot every single day, I look forward to it because I know this is making me feel good. There's nothing stopping you from preparing syringes in advance. I prepare 7 syringes at the beginning of the week. I put them in my bathroom drawer. It's cool, it's dark, it's dry. Pull one out in the morning after I take my shower, fast shot, and I'm done. Okay. So again, I've got very little information here other than just your labs. If you and I were doing a consult of some kind, I'd probably have a hell of a lot more questions to ask you. And then once I got all your answers, I might have more advice to give you. My advice to give you right now, based on what little information you give me, is increase your injection frequency if you can. What I might even do in your case is my standard troubleshooting protocol. I'm going to do daily shots for a little while. I'm going to rule out my frequency, and then I'm going to figure out what my weekly dose needs to be so that my libido is good and I don't feel so tired. Do I need to up my dose or do I need to lower my dose? Let me try raising it. Does my libido get better or get worse? Let me try lowering my dose. Does my libido get better or get worse? And eventually you're going to figure out how much you need to take a week for it to be as good as it can get. And then you can start backing off on the frequency, okay? So once you've figured out your weekly dose and you've backed off on the frequency, and like, this is about as good gets, where I'm injecting the minimum required and I'm taking the minimum dose required to resolve symptoms, then you can start looking into other factors. Get your thyroid looked at. Guys, you wouldn't believe how many people I'm seeing these days with issues with thyroid. And they're so obsessed with E2. Oh, I got this. It must be my E2. Oh, I'm tired. It must be my E2. And you look at your thyroid and you're like, guys, you fucking, like, you know, there's other labs on this paper, right? Did you look at your AST/ALT, how elevated it is? Do you see how poor your thyroid function is? You know, have you looked at your lipids? Like, no, it's my E2. Everything's E2. Guys, there's other things that you can check, okay? So once you've done that, like I said, address thyroid. You can get your TRT dose dialed in like you wouldn't believe, which is as good as it's going to get, and anything less makes you feel worse. But if your thyroid function is shit, until you add some thyroid, you're not going to get those benefits from testosterone replacement therapy. Do a trial thyroid. You might say, oh, wow, this is fantastic. Check your vitamin D levels. Check your B12 levels. There's so many things that you can check. If you're deficient, bring them up. Okay? DHEA and pregnenolone. Let me try one. Let me try some pregnenolone. Oh my God, my head's all cleared up. Okay, well, pregnenolone's obviously doing you some good. Start low, work your way up. Same thing with DHEA, 25 milligrams. Give that a try. Do I feel better? Do I feel worse? Screw the labs. Do I feel better or do I feel worse? Okay. When I say screw the labs, I'm like, when it comes to the hormones specifically, I kind of say screw the labs to an extent. Okay. Now, when I say to an extent, what I mean to say is, if a guy is telling me I've got crazy insomnia, and I look at his total testosterone and it's 2,000, and his free testosterone levels are almost 100, it's not screw the labs. This is an indicator like, it's really, really high. And not a lot of guys can handle this level of androgens. I sure as hell can't handle that level of androgens. And I would have insomnia if I did. This is probably a sign to lower. Okay. But when you've got your total testosterone at 1,000 and you've got your free testosterone at 25, and you say, here are my labs, what I should do. Okay. We're going to throw the labs away. And we're going to work on try higher or try lower, try more frequent, try less frequent. And let's do an experiment until we figure out what's best. The labs at that point are meaningless. Where the labs really do come in handy is stuff like thyroid, stuff like lipids, stuff like liver function. If your AST and ALT are in the stratosphere, I'm not going to say screw your labs. Well, no, this is demonstrative. You got liver damage, okay? But when it comes to hormones, there is no level, no dose, no value, no amount, no serum level that is going to apply to everyone. So because of that, it's kind of meaningless. I'm going to look at your labs and it might give me a clue. The guy that had the free testosterone level of 8 and I feel like shit, well, your free testosterone is 8. Chances are if you bring that amount up, you're going to feel a hell of a lot better. But you might not. But that thing is a problem that is glaring at me in the face. So let's bring that up and we see what the outcome is, and then we go from there. Okay. But stuff like, thyroid, I say closer to 5, or maybe I took a little bit, I'm at 4 and it's too much. Okay, well, back it off. You're at 3.5. Okay, well, that's where you're good. That's where you feel your best. So the labs will provide a clue when it comes to hormones. They provide some information. I can't make an assessment just based on looking at your total T-free TSH and say, here's your problem, unless it's really, really obvious. Everything else, by all means, follow the labs, okay? That's kind of it. So guys, it's been 2 hours and 10 minutes, and I haven't really been feeling all that great, and I toughed it through this, and I'm actually like working up a sweat. I'm going to leave you with two things, which I actually could have mentioned at the beginning of this video, but I'm going to leave you with 2 things. Thing number 1, Jean-François Tremblay of CanLab has been nice enough to give a discount for everyone who watches the channel and everyone in the Facebook group, or just people I talk to in general, a 10% discount on anything they buy through CanLab. Okay, CanLab ships almost worldwide, with some exceptions. CanLab, by the way, they make peptides. They're based here in Montreal. I've had Jean-François on the channel many, many, many times, and he's very, very well known. He participates in a lot of biohackers groups. So if you want to save 10%, if you are buying peptides and decide you want to get it through there, just enter the coupon code BOSSA10, BOSSA 10. So my last name with the number 10 at the end. And you put that coupon code at the end, you're going to save 10% on peptides. Okay, that's number 1. And number 2, I'm writing a book, believe it or not. I've been toying with the idea for the last year. I had thought about it a couple times in the past, but I didn't think I knew enough. But I think I'm getting to the point that I think I know enough now pretty much to fill a book. And I have a couple of people from overseas that said they'd really love to see it. So I started working on it. And I've just started this week, wrote 40 pages already. It's going very, very well. So I'm hoping to have that done between, now and a year from now. There should be a book out, which is going to basically be testosterone replacement therapy in layman's terms, in complete English. Simple English that you can read cover to cover. It won't be complicated, no complex terms, and you'll be fully understand it. And it's basically everything I know, nice, packaged, simple English that anybody can read. So I will keep you updated as to my progress, but I am working on it actively. Okay. So guys, thanks again for joining. We went really long, and again, sorry for the questions I missed. I'm going to try to schedule another one like this in 2 weeks from now, and I hope I can answer the rest of your questions. Thank you all for your support. Thank you for making this YouTube channel the success that it is. And again, feel free to join the Facebook group. There's a lot of knowledgeable guys in the Facebook group. I'm really proud of a lot of them who started off really shaky and just have learned so much, and they're giving out really, really good advice. So you can post your question in the Facebook group, and somebody will definitely answer it. There's physicians there, answer your questions. And that's it for me, guys.